Hello and welcome to another Solana tutorial. Today I present to you the top 5 mistakes Solana devs have been making in 2023, such that you don't make them in 2024 and beyond. So yeah, this is just a video of me going through some of the most common mistakes that I saw people make. Because you know, I have a Discord server where people post their code snippets and the errors, and then we're trying to help each other. And some stuff just keeps coming up. And today I want to talk about exactly that stuff in the hopes that I won't get those errors ever again, which is highly optimistic. That sounds like I'm getting sick. You know what makes me sick? People keep making the same mistakes. I just take this as an opportunity to teach you about those things. Now that I have this knowledge of what keeps coming up, I want to tell more people about it such that we all become aware. Now granted, these might not be the top 5 mistakes. This is of course a very subjective measure to mistakes I encountered, and it's also about dev stuff, not like, oh, this library doesn't work, which is also a very common error that just one of the libraries isn't set up correctly. So yeah, today we're really talking about Solana development, aka writing code that doesn't properly execute or doesn't create the effect that the dev intended, and they could have done something differently to make it perform the way they intended it to. And that's what I want to point out today. Now granted, all of those things are relatively basic, so if you're a pro Solana dev, then you probably won't learn much in this video. However, even if you're an ultimate Solana pro, I encourage you to watch it, because I'm going to present those issues in a way where you can guess what the issue is before I actually mention it. So if you're a very beginner, just go through the video, watch it and see what common errors there are. But if you're an intermediate or advanced or pro Solana dev, then see if you can figure out what the issue is before I actually execute the code. Because we're doing actual education here. This is educational content. Like proper education. Not the kind of education that your favorite influencer calls education. They just call it education because they're legally not allowed to give financial advice. But here, we're actually doing education. AKA me teaching you something useful for Solana development. I've got my fingers free. Am I just being bitter that those shitfluencers get like 10 extra subscribers and 100 extra views? Maybe. But therefore, I got the quality views. Right, guys? You quality people. You are. Okay. I know you are. So let's get started. Let's get to the actual education and look at the most common, or at least some very common, developer mistakes that new Solana devs tend to make. Let's go. I mean, now I call the folder mistakes. It's not really mistakes. It's just like common pitfalls. Some of them are mistakes. Yeah, we hit to learn. So, I mean, I don't want to call it a mistake, or I don't want to have the connotation that it's bad. If that stuff happens to you, then that's great, because that means that you're actually doing something and you're learning in the process. I just hope to get you a quick start with this, such that you know if you see such an error, oh, that's where it can come from. I want to get you quicker in the finding the resolution to your error, not shaming you for making mistakes. That's absolutely not what I'm doing here. It's great to make mistakes. I make constant mistakes. I mean, look at my hair, for instance. That's just a mistake. Although I like my shirt too. Anyway, see, that's why my videos are like an hour long. Could I make 5 separate videos for the 5 mistakes? Of course I could. But I want to make it one to have a coherent story here. And let's start with the first one, damn it. This one is actually really hard to spot because it like shows up in programming tutorials as well. Let me see if I find one. Intro to Solana development using only your browser. I just want a simple, you know what, I'm just gonna write it from memory. I'm not gonna copy anything, just gonna do a first Solana transaction where we literally, you know, the classic. We get a connection to DevNet because we're devs, we're just working on DevNet now. And then we get ourselves a new key pair. And to fund that key pair, we do an airdrop, request airdrop for the public key of this key pair. And how many? 0.1 sol, like this. We of course await this because otherwise the airdrop won't be ready. The airdrop signature, you know, can also print that, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you just know that this is the signature. I called it airdrop. It's whatever. And then I do something, right? So this is the setup for my whatever I'm gonna do. And then here I'm actually gonna do something. Like in this tutorial, we just do our first Solana transaction by just sending some SOL, right? So we get ourselves a transaction from like system program transfer from my key pair to, I don't know, another random key pair, doesn't matter. The amount, we got ourselves an airdrop of 0.1, so let's send 0.01. That should be our transaction, and then we send and confirm. Actually, there's a function for that. Send and confirm transaction with our connection and the transaction and the signers, which is my key pair. We don't need to sign with this key pair because that's just a receiver. Anybody can receive. Oh, of course, this is just the instruction. Sorry, my bad. But I can just create the transaction and add the instruction. Okay, but now, so got the instruction, put it in a transaction, and then send it to the cluster. Oh, fuck my voice. Of course, I'm gonna await this and my signature. Then we print the signature. There you go. That's all we do. That's a classic first example. I can literally show you the entire script. This is an example that you would find in like random tutorials, and this stuff is, you know, different. So first hint, this is not where you should find the error. This will just work. This could be anything, any kind of transaction. So can you already see it? Could you, like, if I execute that, will that work? What do you think? Will that second transaction get through? Will that be a success? And if not, what is the error? Like, this is so basic, and we see that in so many tutorials that it's really difficult for a beginner to see what could possibly go wrong here. And even as a senior dev, which I'm not, this looks like code that should work. It should just work. Like, I don't see, like, there is no obvious, like, this is Solana 101. Nothing should go wrong here. Yet if we execute that, something might go wrong. Do you already have an idea of what could potentially go wrong? I already hinted that it's not in this part, the issue. So guess what? It's in this part. And guess what the only like problematic part here is? Well, yeah, the airdrop. So of course it could be an issue if we're rate limited and we can't request an airdrop anymore. That's not what I'm getting at. So I hope that if I execute this, the airdrop will actually work. Because otherwise it's a different kind of issue that it's not like, you know, yeah. But we're just going to try. We're just going to TS node my first Solana transaction. And we're just going to execute this and hope there is no error on the airdrop. Because there shouldn't be, hopefully. Come on, cross your fingers and... yeah! Bam, bam, I'm happy because my airdrop worked. But it didn't work. Like, what? No, it didn't work. What? There's something wrong. No, my script is not working. But the script is so simple. It's just that. There's nothing complicated here. Like, I'm awaiting this airdrop. So the airdrop needs to be done because I awaited it, and then I even logged the signature so it was done, and then I do the stuff that I want to do. And until this point, it worked. Like this part where I said it might be problematic, that stuff worked. I got the signature. Right there, this thing, that's the signature for the airdrop. Let's check it. Boom. It's a transaction. Some faucet with a bunch of SOL signed, and my random key pair, so my JB6, that was this random key pair. I funded it, and yet the error says failed to send transaction simulation failed, attempt to debit an account but found no record of a prior credit. Probably one of the most common errors that you might get if you're starting out, or at least I see that a lot. So what does that error mean? Maybe let's start here. Well, attempt to debit an account means we're trying to subtract Lamperts from an account, because we can credit to an account, we can put money there, that's free. The account doesn't need to have Lamperts such that we can put more Lamperts on there, but we cannot go negative in Lamperts. Obviously, we can't just, there's no credit, right? We first need to deposit Lamperts into the account before we can spend them and remove them from the account. So that's what this error message says here. We're failing because the key pair doesn't seem to be funded. There doesn't seem to be enough Lamperts on that account. And specifically, it's not even that they're not enough, because if there were not enough, then we would fail here in the system program transfer. We can also look at that. But it says there's no record of a prior credit, means there is no Lamperts on that account at all. That's the error message. Okay, now back to you. My senior Solana devs probably know exactly what's going on here. The beginners are completely lost and ask me in my Discord server that question, what the f is going on here? But now for the people in the middle, how do I call you? The improvers. You have some knowledge about Solana already. Can you tell me what's going wrong here? Yeah, I'm literally waiting for an answer, but obviously I'm not getting it. Should I already present to you the answer, or should I give you more hints? So we've established that we don't have any funds on that account. So this part doesn't work. This is where we get the error, because the simulation of the transaction says that there are no Lamperts on that key pair. And we've actually encountered that problem several times already in the course of my videos. This stuff happens. So what is the problem? Is it the airdrop? No, because the airdrop worked. We got the signature for the airdrop. Is it the transfer instruction? No, it doesn't matter what we're doing here. Even if we, and I can show you that as well maybe, even if we don't even have an instruction in our transaction, if we do nothing, this won't work. And I'm afraid that I don't want to do too many request airdrops, because at some point I'm going to get rate limited. But I'm going to show you this one. Come on, I can get 3 airdrops. This is going to work. So even without the instruction, trying to send this. No. Fuck. No. This is so stupid. Okay. I'm sorry. I can't. Ah, man. Because now we are already failing here. We are already failing at the request airdrop, because I can't airdrop. I hate those rate limits. This is so annoying. And the problem is, on local net, it will work. But maybe that's a good other hint for you. If we were on local, what would that look like? Oh, I like it. It's actually the same on local. Nice, it even works on local, that error. Now I thought that on local we wouldn't get that error, but we do, which is amazing. But why did I think that it doesn't work on local? That's my question to you. In any case, let's try it one more time. Yeah, I do get a signature for the airdrop. Then it says there are no instructions provided, which, fair enough, I didn't provide instructions. And yet it failed, the simulation failed, because debited account will found no record of a prior credit. Classic. Because we debit the account when we want to pay the transaction fee. So I can't send any transactions if I don't have at least the amount to cover the transaction fee, which in this case is the base fee of 5,000 Lamperts. And I don't have 5,000 Lamperts on that account. That's why this is failing me. So the issue is not in that transfer instruction. That was my point. So we add that instruction again. And if we do that now, we see what we saw in the beginning. That is, we get a signature for the airdrop, and then, again, attempt to debit an account with no record of a prior credit. Why though? We literally request the airdrop before we send the transaction. What is the problem? I ask my students. Because this is educational content, damn it. I want to educate you, not just throw information at you. I want you to actually learn. Because I'm an educator, not a shitcoin shiller. You got it yet? Any ideas? No, I'm not gonna tell you. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna fix it, and then you tell me why that suddenly works now. How about that? And I'm gonna fix it pretty unintuitively by adding some confirm options here, and I'm gonna just skip pre-flight. So I'm setting the skip pre-flight flag to true, and we'll see what happens now. Get the airdrop. Does it fail on me? No. Signature for my transaction. Fuck's sake! What? Suddenly it worked? I did nothing different. And that thing, Solana confirm, status okay, we paid the base fee, and the system program was invoked with a transfer instruction. I can't look at that neatly on Explorer because it just doesn't work for local on Windows. But maybe we're lucky, or I could just use another RPC. We're gonna go back to definite and hope to get another airdrop. Nah, it even says I did too many requests. I mean, come on. Helios, the best Solana RPC according to Helios. I'm just gonna use Helios. Don't show your API key. With Helios, this is gonna work again because we're gonna get an airdrop. Say what? Does Helios return something different than what the normal request airdrop expects? So that's probably my signature. For real, Helios, I can't. The fuck? Type, but received object. Helios returns an object and not just the signature. That's just annoying. So found another issue with stuff. So yeah, for beginners, this is really difficult to get started, right? Because suddenly stuff is not working. How do I fix that? Because it's just the result that I'm getting back that is not parsed correctly. So like, I could literally try catch this and ignore if it doesn't. And maybe also log my error. But it works, is my point. Because we do get a signature back, and most likely that is an airdrop. Yeah. From a different faucet, this is not the same faucet. There's only 100 sol on there. Interesting. Anyway, that should fix that part now. And we could run it again with the skip pre-flight. By the way, did you by now find out what the problem here actually was? Because we didn't talk about that yet. We'll get there. One more time. Our first Solana transaction. Yeah, we get that error, but that's the signature for the airdrop. And then now it's waiting to confirm the signature from this send and confirm transaction. And we should also get that here. Haha, there we go. And we got that signature as well. So the airdrop signature was this one. We got the airdrop from this account to this random address. So remember the F1J, that's my random address, because then this signature, that's the transfer from that address then. So that F1J was my signer, and I transferred to another random address, 0.01 sol. Cool stuff, eh? So now it worked. But why does it not work if I don't have that? Like if skip pre-flight is false, why does that not work? I get the error and then I get this transaction simulation failed. But that's already the hint. Simulation failed. Not the transaction failed. The simulation failed. Why does the simulation fail? And this is now the last time for you to one more time think about it. Pause the video if you need to, because now I'm gonna give you the solution, or at least the reason why it keeps failing. There is a time difference between when I'm getting the airdrop and when I'm sending the transaction. Request airdrop is an RPC request. So here I send to my RPC, hey, please give me that airdrop. And then RPC is like, yeah, you can have that. I confirm that, bam. And then instants later, we are sending and confirming a transaction where we rely on that my key pair actually has some lamperts to pay for the transaction fee. So if we step through that time-wise, we get the airdrop and then we send the transaction. So for the blockchain, it's not an issue because the airdrop happens before the transaction. It's all good. But the problem comes in if we, between those two, simulate the transaction. And for the simulation, we don't have the updated state of the airdrop. Airdrop happens, lamperts get written on the account, but the state of the RPC is not updated yet for that account. And we run the simulation on that account with the old state where we don't have the lamperts yet. Then the simulation fails and the RPC is like, I reject this transaction because it would fail anyway, even though it would not fail because the lamperts are there. Just the state of the RPC is behind. And this is like in the amount of like milliseconds. So our issue is that the simulation fails, not the actual transaction. And skip pre-flight to true fixes this because it doesn't do the simulation. It just sends it to the cluster regardless without checking if the transaction would fail or not, because the transaction wouldn't fail Just the simulation thinks that it would fail because we're not working on up-to-date state. Another way to fix this, if we want to keep the pre-flight checks, is to just wait. So we wait, let's go. And in between we do a wait for a new that literally just waits for, I don't know. Let's do a second, that should be enough. If we wait a second here, then the RPC has enough time to update its state from the airdrop to the transaction being simulated, and then it should also work. Let's try that. We get the airdrop, we're waiting, let's go. We didn't wait long enough. Okay, a second is not long enough. Fine. Then we're not talking about milliseconds, we're talking about actual seconds. Let's wait 2 seconds. Still not. Wow, how long do we need to wait for this? Damn, I'm making too many requests. Solana development. Even after 5 seconds? I would have thought that after 5 seconds this would be fine. I'll freaking wait 20 seconds for you. I don't know how long I need to wait. Much longer than I expected actually. Waiting 20 seconds now. Good that I can edit. Let's go. And now it worked. Yes. Okay, if I wait 20 seconds, then that's enough. Let's see if 10 seconds would be enough for Helios RPC. No, let's not see that. Okay. So yeah, we gotta wait some time and then send the transaction, then it works. Or alternatively, we skip pre-flight. That's the 2 fixes that we have for this issue. Hello, Andy from the future here. I do want to add one thing here, because there's actually an even nicer fix to this than just purely skipping pre-flight or waiting a set amount of time. I mean, the skipping pre-flight is nice because it's the most efficient way to do it. But if you don't do that, this waiting is a bit arbitrary, must admit. I mean, as we said, it works, but that time is pretty arbitrary. Does it work with 10 seconds as well? No, it does not. 10 seconds is in fact too few. Okay, so we need 20. But anyway, this is quite some arbitrary time for one, and it's not like the nicest thing. So what I actually prefer over waiting like this is in the previous transaction, so in this case in our airdrop, that we add a different commitment here. Oh, the problem is we can't add the commitment here. We could confirm the transaction with a signature, which is our airdrop, get latest block hash and last valid block height, flatten that in here, and then I have a valid strategy that I can put in here. And this is the important part now. My commitment I want finalized. So I don't want this transaction to just be confirmed, which is the default commitment, but I want it to be finalized. So 32 blocks were built on top of that block. Then the transaction counts as finalized. And once it's finalized, the chances are pretty high that the RPC has the up-to-date state and I can continue. So this is the nicer way to do this. So let's try this with this better fix. Airdrop finalized? Because I'm not awaiting this. Of course, I need to await the confirmation. Sorry, my bad. I can print the result for you just for fun. So let's hope that we get another airdrop. No! Definite! We were so close. Let's try this one more time with a different RPC. We get the airdrop and now we're waiting for the finalized transaction. So we're waiting for finalized. There we go. We got it at this slot and we waited 12 seconds. So we know that we need to wait approximately that time, and then the other transaction also goes through, because after 12 seconds, when the airdrop is finalized, then my send and confirm will also work. Yeah, so that's that. That's just a nicer way to do this with waiting for finalized. And we just need to do it so complicated here because the request airdrop doesn't allow us to specify the commitment level. If that first thing was a transaction that we send like here, then we could here specify the commitment and say finalized as well. But in our case here, it's enough if we have it confirmed because nothing else depends on this transaction anymore. So we don't need to wait for it to be finalized. But if something else depends on this transaction, it would be good if we wait for it to be finalized. That's just a nicer way than if we manually wait. Just wanted to add that. But now we can go back to the previous year. And I'm going to mention that one more time at the third mistake. I hope that you understand where that comes from and that it's not that. And it's also not the airdrop. What? Because the airdrop works. It's the combination of airdrop is too early before that send and confirm. And the real solution, in my opinion, is not requesting an airdrop at all. So let's do our first fix. We're not gonna create a new key pair. We're gonna do what we did last time and load a key pair. We're gonna load our key pair JSON, Solana keychain or Solana keychain new, and we say key pair JSON. Now I even have my seed phrase. Don't show this, damn it. This is my public key now. If I load that, then I don't need to request an airdrop, and I don't need to wait, and I don't need to skip pre-flight. It will just work, except of course it won't. Why will it not? Well, because same issue, we don't have any credit because we never requested an airdrop. So once we need to request an airdrop, does that go through? Is definite nice to me? Nope, it's not. Just gonna request an airdrop of 1 sol here. There we go, that worked. So now only once do I need to request an airdrop. There we go, we get 1 sol to our random key pair, which is not really random anymore, it's just our key pair that we have stored here in this file. That's the private key. And now whenever I do my first fix, it will just always work. And we get a signature as we would expect, and we can start spending the sol from our account. Easy. So that's that. That's the first mistake that keeps coming up. And I've been recording for over an hour already on this one. I could totally make 5 separate videos. But no, we're gonna fit them all into one. I'm gonna be quicker with the next one, I promise. But that's just so common and so unintuitive. It's like counterintuitive why it wouldn't work with a quick airdrop and then just sending, right? Yeah, I hope that makes sense. And we can move on to the next thing. Common mistake number 2. Second thoughts. I'm just gonna call it like that because I can. Gonna do the same thing or a similar thing. Wait, which one do I do next? I know which one I'll do next. Okay, so we're gonna do a similar thing. This time working with our key pair. And the idea is we do some kind of sale of something and some royalties are sent somewhere and the main thing is sent somewhere else. Let's say the price of the entire thing is, I don't know, 0.2 sol, because let's face it, I don't have that much. So the price is that. And the fee is 0.1%. So 10 basis points. So this is sol, this is fee in basis points 10. All right. So we got a fee in basis points, basically 0.1% from every transfer. I mean, that seems like a fair amount, right? If you're like a marketplace, you would take 0.1%. That's in the range of what is like common for crypto. If you would take an entire percent, people are like, whoa. Unless you're the creator, that's different. But as a marketplace or something, if you take more than 0.1%, that's weird. So we do 2 transfers. The receiver gets the entire price. That would be without the fee, but we have a fee. So the fee is price times fee in basis points divided by 10K, because basis points to factor. That's the fee that we, our marketplace or whoever, receives. And then what's left for the actual receiver is the price minus the fee, which means the receiver amount plus the fee should equal the price, which, you know, if you change that, how do you call that? Gleichung. Equation, that's the word. If you change that equation, you literally get that, right? So, I mean, we could have rounding errors here because we're working with like numbers and in TypeScript, but that's not what I'm aiming at here. And even if the price was then 0.2000001 or whatever, it doesn't really matter. This is not what I'm like. If we have rounding errors here, I don't really care. Actually, let's see if we would get rounding errors. A better name for this would be the tax, not a fee, but a tax amount, then the tax, and then the total, because fee could be confused with like a priority fee or with like a transaction fee or whatever. So, second thoughts. How's the pricing? horrible, but that's because of string concatenation. Try that again. Okay, so we have the amount is this, the tax is this, and the total is still this. And that's what we now want to send. I mean, usually I would do this in my program, but I can't be bothered to actually do a program. So I'm just going to do 2 system program transfers. So instruction 1 will be from my key pair to receiver is a new key pair. Then the, I don't know, treasury is also a new key pair. And really, in both cases, we just need the public key. So I'm going to replace this with the receiver. We're going to send receiver amount. And then we're going to do the same thing with instruction 2, where we send to the treasury and we send the fee or the tax, you know, whatever. Man, I do want to call it tax. I'm going to freaking call it tax. And this one also. Okay, there we go. It's tax now. Pretty simple. Then we add instruction 1 and instruction 2 to our transaction and we send that. That should work, right? That is a simple 2 transfers as we had before. Our key pair is funded this time. We do have Sol on this account and we just send 2 amounts, once here, to a receiver and to a treasury. What could possibly go wrong when we do this? This is another common mistake. Actually, not that common. Let's be honest, I just included this because it's one of my favorite mistakes that I want to make you all aware of. Even though it might not be that common, it's also one that is maybe difficult to understand in the beginning. Once you've got the concepts of Solana in your head and you understand how everything works, I don't want to give you tips yet, otherwise I would have said how rent works, then it's pretty simple to figure it out and fix it. But I want to make it difficult for the Solana pros among you. Does that work? And why or why not? I mean, why? I mean, if you say it does work, then, I mean, you don't need to give me the why. But I'm going to show you one more time the entire thing. So let's remove those logs. That's the entire thing now. What's the issue? Because it's going to be pretty obvious once I actually run it. But the highest difficulty for you to think about it, to learn, is you telling me why this doesn't work. If you manage to tell me why this doesn't work just by seeing this, then you're among the pros, at least an advanced Solana dev, if you manage that. So since the advanced got it figured out and everybody else is struggling, let's just run it. Oh, we get an error. Who would have expected that? Not me. Of course me, because I'm showing you this thing. Oh, a transaction simulation failed again. Haha, we have not seen that before. But this time it's not about the simulation, is it? It would also fail if I would skip pre-flight. Why does it fail? Account with insufficient funds for rent. Another classic that I was hinting on earlier. It's about rent. Now, why is that? And just to prove to you that it's not a simulation error, even if I skip pre-flight and get myself that transaction, for fuck's sake. Oh, I get it. I don't get a signature back because it's not a transaction that's failing. So it's not a failed transaction. It's a runtime error. So nothing gets persisted. That's why I'm also not even getting the signature back and I'm getting this error that I don't handle. So I would catch that. But yeah, point is, it's not the simulation that is the problem. We really have the problem of having an account that has insufficient funds for rent. Transaction results in an account with insufficient funds for rent. And the account we're talking about is account 1. Which one is account 1? Well, we would need to analyze the transaction. So we would need to see how the system program puts them, in which order they put them into the transaction. But I think we're talking about like account 1, which I think is the from pub key. No, wait, no, this starts at 0. So account number 1, the 0th account, is my sender, and then we get the receiver. Let's put out our logs again. Those are the amounts that we send. And that shouldn't be a problem, right? We can send any amount of Lamperts to any account, right? No, we cannot. There is an exception. We cannot just send any arbitrary amount of Lamperts to any account. We can only do that if the account already exists. So, for instance, this here that we funded earlier. If my treasury was this account, then it would work. Right, second thoughts? Yes. Why does that suddenly work? And that's the point where my advanced students should be able to give me the explanation by now. This is what we get. Those are the accounts. Account number 1 or 0 is my key pair. That's the receiver. So we're sending almost the entire 0.2 sol to this address, a random address. Here it worked that we sent that amount to a new address. That worked. And here it also worked, but this amount we couldn't have sent to a new address. It already needed to be funded for that to work. Because at the instruction level, the receiving account, my treasury, is the problem. Was the problem. It's not here, but that was the problem. When we have a new pub key here, an account with 0 lamperts on it, then it will fail on us. If my treasury is a completely new key pair and I send 0.00002 sol there, then that is not enough to cover the rent for an account. Did I do it? Am I just giving that away already? Wouldn't I just first want to help my improvers? Because the advanced people got it. No, okay, so for my improvers, get familiar with the concept of Solana rent and rent exemption and minimum rent requirements, because I assume that by now you've heard about that concept and you understand how it works, right? The more bytes I want to allocate in an account, the more rent I need to pay. So the more lamperts I need to deposit into an account for that to work. But what some people might forget about is that even if you have 0 bytes in the account still needs some bytes for the fields that every account has. Therefore, there's also a minimum rent requirement for any account. Even if it's just a system program account that doesn't hold any data, the minimum rent is somewhere around 0.00, I don't remember, but I can quickly say Solana rent for 0 bytes and it will give me that number, which is 0.00089. To be safe, I would say 0.0009. So anything above 0.001 is safe, right? Although anything above this is safe. And that's the reason why this transaction is failing on us. And the runtime is telling us, hey, if we did that, if we had a transfer to an account with that amount and the resulting amount would then be this is below the minimum rent threshold. Therefore, this account is not allowed to exist. That was different in the beginnings of Solana, fun fact, when accounts didn't need to be rent exempt. But they changed it and now every account needs to be rent exempt. So you are not allowed to have an account that has that little amount of sol. That's just not possible anymore. Runtime doesn't allow that. And therefore, if you have a new account that starts out with 0 sol, you need to transfer at least this amount. So how can we now fix this? Well, obviously the issue is with the treasury. Easiest fix is to fund our treasury with that minimum balance. Then we're safe, because usually you wouldn't, create a treasury every time a new one. In most cases, this is also going to be a PDA that you find with, public key, find something like treasury and from our program, right? So it could be something like this, that my program just has one treasury, so we have one static seed and we would find it like this. Then it's always the same account as well. And it would still not work if I did this, right? The runtime is still going to have second thoughts. We still have a transaction results in account with insufficient funds for rent, because our treasury, I'm going to print it, 3 of P4. This account doesn't exist yet. So the easiest fix is to do something like Solana transfer, what did we say, 0.001 sol, which is above the minimum rent threshold. By the way, fun fact, I can also not do it here, right? If I had 0.8 here and I would transfer to this account. Wait, which way around is it? This or the other way? It's always the other way around. I can also not do that. Here we actually get the exact same error. Transaction results in an account with insufficient funds for rent. It's the same here. I need to do a transfer of at least 0.0089. What was it? 89008. So I need to transfer at least 891 1, I'm gonna round up. This is gonna work then. Here I can do the transfer, and then this account will exist. Bam, 0 bytes, and it's got the minimum Lamperts for rent exemption. And now it would work if I run this script and send 0.00002 Sol there. Now I can send any amount of Lamperts there. I could even just send 1 Lampert and it would work, right? And if I send my tax of 0.0002 Sol to my treasury wallet, now it's gonna work. So this now worked because now again we're still over the minimum balance for rent exemption. That error, by the way, can also happen if you're transferring stuff out from your account, right? I could transfer, if my price was now exactly that, 0 point, then that would also not work. For the same reason, transaction results in an account with insufficient funds for rent, but this time it's a different account. This time it's account 0, the first account, which is my sender account, the key pair, this one. Why? Because if I send out 0.189 Sol in total, then I'm left with that dust, and that dust would be under the minimum balance for rent exemption, and therefore the runtime would kill that transaction. So it works both ways, in funding an account and removing Lamperts from an account. If I did that, then I would need to send out that exact amount with the dust. But yeah, we were at fixes. Yeah, so as I said, the easy way, of course, to fund the treasury beforehand and then do that transfer. Otherwise, I would need to, check here when I transfer to the treasury that either my tax is above the minimum, or I bump up the tax, or I transfer 0. That's actually how Tensor does it for collections where the creator has 0 Sol and the royalties for an NFT transfer are so low that it's below minimum rent threshold. They just don't transfer royalties. I found that out when I played around with CNFTs that one time when I had a collection, right? So that is the common error number 2. Everything works if the treasury is properly funded and that account actually exists. But if it's a completely new account and you forgot to fund your treasury yourself, be aware that your user transactions might just fail on you because not enough Sol is put into the treasury. And it's about the first transaction. Once we have enough Sol in there, we can literally just send 1 Lampert in there and that's also fine. Yeah. Okay. That concludes the second common issue that people run into. What do we have for number 3? Now that we're 2 hours into recording, I'm gonna be quicker for the next one, I promise. Oh yeah, let's do the most common. That's probably the number 1, the winner of the most common dev error, the one we're gonna do next. Third eye. My naming is on point today. What are we gonna do? We are gonna do something with a token program. We're gonna create a mint. We're gonna create a token. Yeah, that's what we do. Let's forget about that for a second. From SPL token, we're gonna import a create mint and just create mint. And our mint is gonna be a new key pair. I'm gonna pay as the key pair. Mint authority is also gonna be my key pair. Freeze authority, we don't need that. Decimals, I don't know, a classic token with 9. And the key pair is gonna be the mint. I'll find then get the public key here. Okay. And that already does the send and confirm, right? We are doing it like that. That just returns me the address of the new mint, which I already have. Literally, I don't need that. Okay, fine. I'm just gonna await this. But it would be too easy. Because what I have to do first is obviously fund that key pair. Because we literally just learned that I need to get minimum balance for rent exemption for the mint. So this returns how many Lamperts I need for a mint account. And then I'm gonna transfer that amount to the mint account such that there is enough Lamperts there such that that account exists, such that I can use it for initializing my mint. Right? Do you see it? Do you see it with your third eye? This is what we do. And I'm done. Hands off the keyboard. What's my mistake? A classic beginner mistake again. I mean, usually they don't do it in that way, but kinda they do it in that way, it might just not be that obvious. And again, to my freaking advanced students, this already is obvious, and you were like, what? No, you made a mistake. What did you say there? That's wrong. At which case, yeah, you're right. I said something that's wrong. Congratulations. I say a lot of stuff that's wrong, but this time I did it on purpose as well. But yeah, is that working? And when not, why not? Let's just try it actually. Why not? Third eye. Let's go. Oh, it didn't work. Why? 0x0, the classic. And this, literally, this, guys, is probably the most common error that people get. At least the people that post their issues in my Discord server. A classic account already in use. And again, this comes in many shapes and forms and sizes. And it's not always just about creating a mint. That happens with other stuff too. When we get the 0x0 account already exists. But yeah, what's the issue here? Advanced devs already know it. My improvers. What am I doing wrong? I mean, we looked at the create mint. It does that, right? It does a create account, which is literally the same as a transfer, except it also assigns it to the program ID. Could also do this. Maybe that was my mistake, right? So let's not do this. My key pair, my mint. Program ID is the token program. So I now create the account. And what I'm also gonna do is I'm gonna lock the mint since it's always a random key pair. But yeah, that could be my vanity address that I grinded or something. So with the create account, does that make a difference? In a way, yes, but in a way, no. That would be my mint. Signature verification failed. Oh, that is in fact true. What am I fucking up here? Yeah, of course, if I do that, then I also need to sign with this. If I create account, then I also need to sign with it. That's the issue here, but that was just a temporary thing. Now that first instruction went through, and now the create mint, this is where we have the issue, that again fails on me. Why does it fail on me? Oh, this is funny though. We get a custom program error of 0. It's an instruction error. Instruction 0, I'm pretty sure, is a system program instruction. So we get again a 0x0 just in a different print. And this is actually more difficult to debug, but I'm not 100% sure of this, but I think this is the exact same thing. It's a custom program error 0, and the custom comes from the system program, I'm fairly sure. That's the transaction. It was sent to the cluster. Did we skip pre-flight? Apparently we skipped pre-flight with this. Send and confirm, and my confirm options. Oh, do we have the same issue as with the first one? See, that's why I make it one video, such that I can reference all of that. I think we have the same issue, but in the other way around. This time, because we don't have skip pre-flight, we actually succeed, and otherwise we wouldn't. Let me check that. That would be too funny. Can I have skip pre-flight here? Wait, actually, no, that wouldn't make any sense. Because we don't skip pre-flight, that wouldn't change anything. What we would need to do is to do a wait, like in my first here. If we wait 20 seconds here, let's just do this for my own entertainment. So this would be my mint. This is the transaction for creating the account. Now we're waiting 20 seconds such that we have the correct state for simulating this transaction. Yes! This is so funny. Because here the transaction simulation fails again. Now, again, reverse as before. Now the transaction fails if I'm waiting. In my first thing, it was failing if I don't wait. And now that it has the up-to-date state here, then the simulation already fails. And it tells me again that address, you know, my mint that I tried to create. Custom program error 0x0. So the same thing as we had before, custom program error 0x0. Now already in the simulation again, we see it here as well, custom program error 0x0 in instruction 0. And the funny thing is, here we get the same thing, but it wasn't caught by the simulation. It was only returned as a result, so the transaction was submitted, and we get the 0x0 here, just printed differently because 0x0 comes from here, the custom program error of the system program. And we see the instruction here, the create account instruction fails on us. This one was never even touched because the first instruction already fails on us because this create account doesn't work because it's already in use. Yeah, classic 0x0. Most common error, probably, in my very limited statistics. One more time, hello, it's me. The same thing that we did in mistake number 1, we can also do here now, adding a different commitment level for the first transaction. So instead of waiting, we just add the commitment finalized, and then this await will wait long enough that this transaction will have the up-to-date state. Can also show you that one more time. With that, we're now waiting longer because we have the commitment finalized. So now we're waiting for it to be finalized. That's about like 30 seconds or something. And we get our 0x0 in the simulation, as compared to when we have a different commitment level like confirmed, which is the default. If we just have commitment level confirmed, then we get that transaction much quicker. But now we're actually sending the next one and it will fail on chain. There we go. And then we get this custom error 0 for this transaction. So here, once again, the cleaner solution is to just add a commitment of finalized instead of doing a manual wait here. Yeah, that I just wanted to add because it's just a cleaner solution. Back to the video and back to actually fixing that. But that's cool. We saw it in like 2 different forms. Like if you see this or if you see this, right? Here at least we get the logs with the 0x0. Anyway, coming back to why is this a problem? You know, whether we transfer Sol there or we create the account with the correct program ID already, the issue always is that we create the account up front. And yes, granted, most people will not even get the idea to do this if they create the mint, because as we saw, the create mint already does that. So we're doing it twice now. That's the problem. We're essentially creating an account and then we're attempting to create the account again, but the account already exists. Can't create the account with the same pub key twice. That's why we get the 0x0. So the obvious solution is, of course, to not do that part. We don't need that. And granted, most people wouldn't do that. At least not if they write the script, they wouldn't, manually do that. But what they do though, is if they use the CLI to create tokens, then often that happens. So let me also show that to you, because that's such a common mistake to make. And I keep talking about it and people keep making that mistake. So I keep mentioning it until people get it, damn it. So the workflow goes, we create a vanity key pair, mint. Let me rename it. So I have my mint key pair now, which has 0 sol, which is how it should be. But then for some reason, somehow, people, I think the issue comes when they now think they need to use that key pair to create the mint. So they do something like Solana config set the key pair to my mint JSON. And now I still have 0. And if I now would SBL token create token with my mint JSON, then obviously we get the we don't have enough funds, attempt to debit an account but found no record of a prior credit. Again, very common thing. Oh, that's not working. I don't have enough sol on that account. I guess I need to fund it. And then they do stuff like Solana transfer to this key pair, I don't know, 0.01 sol from another key pair, which results in there actually being sol on that account already. And then if we do that and we create the token, then we get our classic 0x0 custom program error of the system program, because that account already exists. And then they're like, no, what do I do now? And I'm like, oh, just create a new key pair or remove all the sol and then try it again. So that's a very common error. And in that form, it often appears as well when people try to create a token, but use a keypad where the account already exists. So this was more of a staged kind of an arbitrary kind of a thing, but it does happen in the wild a lot. So that's why it got into the top 5 of mistakes that new Solana devs make. But you're not new anymore, so you're definitely not gonna make that mistake. Or will you? I hope not. And if you don't take away anything more than 0x0 of the system program is a account already in use error. So if you get the 0x0, most likely you're trying to create an account that already exists, potentially even because another transaction went through that you didn't account for or something like that. So 0x0 is for account already exists. And it happens very often in combination with, creating a token. Because that's what new Solana devs do. They try to create a token, which is fine. Tokens are a very important primitive. I'm just not so happy with all the shitcoins that are created. But, let them have fun, as I said in the previous video. Not judgy, a bit judgy. Just be safe out there. Just don't let other people scam you with their shitcoins that they learned how to do because they watch my videos. But you're now an improver dev anyway, at least. Maybe you're even like pro. So a pro dev doesn't ape into shitcoins, right? Right? I wouldn't. Educational content. How are we doing? It was a bit quicker this time. We need to still up it up a notch if we want to get 5 in. But the next one are going to be quicker. I promise. But really, this time, I promise. Okay, 4. For the win. How am I gonna demo this? See, with this one, it would be really difficult for you to know what I want. But actually, no, my pro Solana devs, you should know this. Let's say we are in our front-end application, right? This is our service thing that we do. We are good Solana devs. Remember that we are good Solana devs. We totally know what to do. And in this case, we just want to do a transfer. Again, this part is irrelevant. This would call our application, right? Imagine that instead of this transfer, we call our program to do something. Doesn't really matter what we do. Right, so this is what we want to do. And we do that in our front end or wherever. What mistake are we making? Like, I give you a hint. Mert is always pushing that. We're not making a mistake per se. Like, it's not wrong how we do it. It could just be better. Because this will work. I can demonstrate to you that this will work. I can TS note the F for the win. It will not work. Cannot be converted to big int. Oh yeah, you're right. This will indeed not work. I was wrong. You were maybe right. This is what I'm missing. But that's not what I meant. Okay, sorry, I made a mistake. I forgot to multiply with Lambert's per sol. Yes. But now, for the win, this will work. There we go. Woohoo. Look at us. We can do a system program transfer. So it works, right? So I'm not saying that it's not working. It could just work better or more reliable. And by now, even my advanced devs should know what the issue is. Well, issue, like what I want from you. And what I actually want every dev to do per default when they create a script that is actually being used in production. Or even for them, even for their test purposes or whatever. It's always good to do that. What am I talking about? Still don't get it? Okay, improvers. Especially in the last few weeks, it has been talked about more and more because there was more demand. There were more transactions being sent. And another hint, it really just, for now, is just an issue on mainnet. But as good practice, you could also do it on DevNet. What am I talking about? Fine, let's go to mainnet. Oh, we're still in beta. Do we have sol somewhere? 0.01 sol. It's also $1. Damn! Prices are high right now. So I'm not gonna send to a new keep here. I'm gonna recycle that and send it to myself. Because it's not about the transfer. It's about the transaction getting through. Right, if I do that on mainnet now, check this for the win. Also works on mainnet. 5 auf. Voila. Just pay the base fee because our transfer just transfers to ourselves. And literally we're just, burning fees. See, we transfer to ourselves. Okay, cool. So transaction landed, everything worked, it's fine, right? We can call it a day. Leave, get out of here. No, but what can we improve here? One last hint. It's about the fee. It will change the fee. And now even my improvers should get it. I'm of course talking about prioritization. We should add priority fees. Now, I don't like to tell you what you should and shouldn't do, but I'm just telling you it's good practice to add priority fees, because I read recently even adding a priority of 1 Lampert, paying 1 Lampert more, makes your confirm times be quicker. Because if there are a lot of transactions competing for the block space, then the validators will put in those with the higher priority. And since there are currently quite a few transactions still being sent without any priority fee, like we do here, we don't add a priority fee, adding any priority fee, even of just 1 Lampert in total, makes a difference. And priority fees is a complex topic. I do have a video on that, but that's also more just covering the basics of how to add priority fees and what they are and whatnot. The whole economics of priority fees, I wanted to make a deep dive on priority fees, looking behind the scenes and how validators prefer stuff. But that it gets very complicated there, because if a transaction without a priority or with low priority arrives first, then it's put into the block, and then a transaction with higher priority comes later, that might actually be added to the block, later or not at all. It doesn't actually prioritize it in the sense of, oh, I pay more than another transaction, therefore my transaction goes in the block first. It's a complicated topic that I don't want to go into, because here I'm literally just saying add priority fees to your transactions. And maybe just to repeat, because people keep having issues with that, adding priority fee is pretty simple with the compute budget program that we also find in Solana Web 3. Here we have 2 instruction creators, the set compute limit and the set compute unit price. We can price in microlamperts, 1 microlampert per compute unit. I'm going through this quite quickly. Watch the video on the compute budget program that I did before if you want to have the details. We just do this 1 instruction that adds a priority fee. We can also change the compute units that we request, but watch the video about the compute budget program for the details. If we set a price, the default price is 0. So even having a price of 1 will get me higher priority. And the price of 1, that's in microlamperts. So microlamperts multiplied with 200k compute units is still just 0.2 lamperts that I would pay, but it's rounding up to the next lampert, so I pay 1 full lampert. So don't get confused that if I write 1 here, I pay 1. That's not actually how this works, but watch the video on fuck's sake, that video is long enough. So to actually add this, I now also need to say tx add the instruction to add the priority fee, and then nothing really changes in our for the win script, but our transaction has higher chance of landing. And this really makes a difference when you're sending like several transactions, because if you send a lot, then some of them might fail. And I don't want to simulate that. My point here is I'm now paying 1 lampert in priority fee. Nice. And the transaction again, still the same. I could have also landed it without. So that's not per se a mistake. In a way it is. Not adding priority fees is a mistake by now. It wasn't always like that, but it is like that right now. I would highly recommend that all the apps add priority fees and don't complain with their RPC that transactions are not landing. Merge really doesn't like that. So yeah, that's why I'm also telling you, add priority fees. It's that easy. Just this line. You can even put that in here and then boom, it's a 1-liner. Easy as that. For the basics, it's enough to understand how to add a priority fee and that you should add a priority fee. Dear beginner devs, just get in the habit of always just adding a priority fee. Even if it's just the lowest one possible, pay a lampert, that's fine. At least you can say you added priority fees. And I want to add that's fine for now. If there's even more demand, maybe you need to bump up that price or reduce compute units. Anyway, add priority fees. Okay, I know this video has been long, but I want to do a 5th one because I said I'm going to do 5. But I'm going to do a very quick one. I promise. It's going to be a very quick one. It's going to be so quick that we're not even going to code anything. Because, and again, this is just my view on the world, just my biased opinion. But one of the top 5 beginner mistakes that any Solana dev can do is definitely not being subscribed to my YouTube channel. So definitely make sure that you hit that subscribe button, and ideally you also want to get all of those notifications. And this is not just me who's saying that. There. I wish more people knew about Solandy's YouTube channel. I agree. I actually missed a lot of great content by not ticking the YouTube bell. There you have it. Tick that YouTube bell and give me a follow. That's what you call subscribe on YouTube. But while we're at following, you can also, give me a follow here on Twitter. I mean, that's not a radical mistake. Same with this one, right? I mean, you can go through your life without being subscribed to my channel. But as a Solana dev, it will make your life easier, probably, if you are subscribed and actually watch my videos, which I know all of you actually do, so you're doing great. So you got that. You're not making this mistake. You are on the right track on becoming a pro Solana dev, because we're on the track together. All right, and with that, those were my 5 top mistakes that Solana devs did in 2023. Great, we can wrap up the year now. Have a good one. I wish you a happy new year. Welcome to 2024. The things we can do here now. Wow. I'm looking forward to another year of Solana development. Yeah, I hope that this video was useful. This face, I mean, not the most accurate representation of what that video is actually about. I didn't really coordinate that well with my designer. That's actually a really interesting video where I went through how much money I could have taken just for my own entertainment. One more time. Let's do it. Let's go ahead. Why not? While we're here, because we're not making the mistake of not watching this. Because this is fun. 5,243 placed stake Sol, currently at 112. So 5243 times 112. That would be $500,000 already. Over $500,000. Great. Could have stolen over $500,000. And I didn't. Whole story here. Sorry, where was I? Got distracted with my own stuff. Oh yeah, now I have a nicer face under my armpit. I mean, again, I'm biased, but I do put out good content, in my opinion. Like this transfer hooks video that you can find here, by the way. I'm gonna put it here. My favorite extension. Yeah, so don't miss the good developer content. Stay subscribed, turn on the notification bell, like this video. That doesn't actually improve your Solana development journey, but it's nice for me to see if people actually like it. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you're now not making those mistakes anymore that are showcased, and you stay subscribed. So shall I see you in the next one? Till then, educational content. There you have it.